The Epoch Times is funded by a fundamentalist religious nationalist group out of China. Oh, okay, good. That's good. At least they're willing to do the right thing, huh? Yeah, and speak the truth of it. We don't have CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, or NBC willing to speak the truth about this or do what's right by children, do we? So at least it is good to see that that fundamentalist group has the best interest of children in mind, huh? Yeah, I think so. That's what matters to me. Okay, I'm a psych nurse. We do not affirm if a patient comes in having hallucinations that that aliens are coming through his TV set and trying to attack him and do all these things to him. We don't affirm it. It would be unethical. But yet we're going to affirm the most basic things we knew from the beginning, gender. We're going to affirm the falsity of all this lunacy. Like, you don't even have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a psych nurse. This is a common sense, no-brainer one. It is. It always has been. There's a reason we don't let 5-year-olds drive. There's a reason we don't let 10-year-olds drink. There's a reason that we say that somebody is an adult at 18, and many people would argue that's not true because of the frontal lobe. Because the reason for those things is because of the science, the evidence that we've known of the frontal lobe. It is not formed, most doctors say, not really until the mid-20s, which technically would be you're not fully an adult at 18. But okay, so they changed that. But the fact is 21 is the legal age to drink. Now, do people still drink under 21? Yes, kids do it all the time, but they legally aren't allowed to. And here's why. Because when the frontal lobe isn't formed yet, you get somebody that has very impulsive actions. They will be very impulsive, be irresponsibly impulsive. That's why you see teenagers make rash decisions and are just irresponsible in many ways because they act on impulse. And most of it is because of science. It's the evidence of the frontal lobe. It's not formed. And the frontal lobe is where impulse control is housed, which is exactly, in my opinion, why we have politicians that support pushing transgenderism on children. Because it is grooming. It's messing with their minds when they know they're able to do it because their frontal lobe isn't fully formed yet. That's how disgusting this is. So I don't care who's talking about it. Everything this man has said is true. Now, I don't totally agree with him on some things because I think it's a slippery slope. But what he is saying is right when it comes to much of it. And the fact is, this is what I read is not made up. Dr. Hakim was written about back in the 2022 in the UK. Now, the UK has backed off of this lunacy and has backed off so much that the Tavistock Institute, which has just been an institute used by researchers that want to study people's psychology, but because of their unethical practices, they're going to be shut down in the spring of 2024. So much of that happening is because of people like Dr. Hakim and some others, but not a whole lot, but enough raising the red flags there that seems that they're backing off of it. Not entirely, but they're not going full force like we still have in this country. But I think the problem is, unfortunately, is I think America has been the most propagandized too. That's so hard for me to wrap my head around, but I'm going to do a different video about that. It's in regards to the Spanish flu. Because I think we have, though. I think other countries actually have a more free media than we do. Hard to believe. So I don't care who's talking about this. This is a common sense thing. Whether the trans community likes it or not, I'm sorry, it's just not right to do this to children. It's not. And any doctor going along with it is irresponsible, is not thinking, is not using their own critical thinking, like, should we do this? So a little bit more about Dr. Hakim. He is unique in that he is the only consultant psychiatrist in psychotherapy who specializes in the specialist application of exploratory psychotherapy to persons suffering from gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is the sense of dissatisfaction or unhappiness with one's sense of gender identity. Not all people with gender dysphoria are the same. Indeed, the term trans is an unhelpful umbrella term which includes numerous conditions, including the following. All of these conditions I've covered in videos for over 3 years now, except for one of them. And those conditions are what was formerly known as transsexualism, transvestitism, fetish transvestitism, of which Dr. Hakim describes 11 differing subtypes in his book, and autogenophilia. This is where somebody presents with sex. They sexually get excited with the fantasy of having female body parts. The Unabomber had autogenophilia. That's why I did a video about this. Yes, it's where men want to dress up as women. They'll even go as far as to want the body parts because it excites them to see the reaction they get from women. Dr. Hakim considers himself a gender critical psychiatrist. Gender critical means that he is analytically critical of what persons presume to be the nature of gender and its stereotypes, and delineates the social construct of gender form from biological sex. That's just such a slippery slope. That's why a lot of this, there's some of this stuff I don't agree with him on. He does not consider himself anti-trans. He says that to be able to provide a safe, neutral, exploratory space, Dr. Hakim works independently from any services where physical treatments are offered and does not get involved in referring people to have such interventions, as he would become then what is known as a gatekeeper, which would interfere with his therapeutic work. The majority of the people he's been helping are the detransitioners, because it says, unfortunately, there is no therapeutic support available to such persons from the very gender clinics who offered them the transition in the first place. So, yeah. This is his website. This was an older book of his he wrote about first, which was trans, but he has a website, so you can check into that. This was in the UK, in a UK article back in October 2022. Parents of 3-year-olds took their children to NHS Tavistock Clinic claiming they were trans when they just wanted a child of a different sex. And then this was a different website that published this about him. So Epoch Times, are all these websites that publish this, are they all some religious fundamentalists? Well, at least they're willing to do the right thing, huh? Gender mutilation care will lead to mass sterilization. Yeah, it's everything I already read about the Tavistock, a London psychiatrist, yeah. This is his most current book. You can go and purchase that. So, again, I really don't care if they're putting out more truth than our own mainstream media. And I believe these are from his Substack, so you can go. A lot of doctors are on Substack. That's where they're publishing now, because going through these publishing, places is ridiculous. So that's where a lot of doctors that have wanted to get out from under the umbrella of this global system. That's where they learn a lot, because it's people actually just talking, people in their professions. Yeah. So you could see academic and professional debate in the UK about sex and gender. Yeah, he has tons of articles, and I believe most of these are on Substack. So the article was not false, but CNN and MSNBC and all of our media, and Epoch Times is part of our media. They're just not considered mainstream, but they do report more truth than all of the legacy media in this country. And that's what matters to me, because when it comes to children, I don't care who you are. You should be able to do the right thing.